Welcome. My name is Amy. This is the Working Towards Improvement podcast, where we're going to do a book study of the various systems that we live under so we can better understand the world around us. I am feeling very passionate about this topic because I love reading and I realize I have a lot of gaps in my knowledge. In 2020, I watched 100 people die from COVID and I had a crisis of faith. My mental health tanked. So many people in America hated me, and I literally didn't understand what was happening. And I'm understanding it a lot more to this day, this year in 2025. Turns out Trump has a cult following around him, and there was tons of propaganda out that year claiming COVID was fake, when I clearly could see it was not fake. And a lot of hate and vitriol was coming from the Catholic Church. So at that point, I left the Catholic Church. I was like, oh, hell no, I don't want anything to do with this. This is not what I have known to be the Catholic Church. I remained Christian. I grew up Republican, but I never voted Republican. But after 2020 and Trump poo-pooed the COVID response, I was like, oh, hell no, this guy doesn't know what he is doing. I am voting for the Democratic candidate. So I've only ever voted Democrat. But Trump has a cult around him. Fox News is propaganda. I realize now how it works, and I grew up in it. I actually never, after leaving the house, I've never watched Fox News, but I see how it works now. So we're going to start a book study, and this information will be available for anybody who is wanting to learn along with me, along with us, because I realize there's a lot of people in the Republican Party who are not going to wake up until they're like physically affected. And I don't know how all that cult brain stuff works. Like, I feel I have somewhat always been a part of the Democratic Party in a sense, because I've always thought we should have universal health care and education around here, but didn't quite understand how it worked. And I told myself that I wasn't ever going to vote until I knew what I was voting for. I didn't want anybody else's opinion about who I should vote for I didn't want anyone else's opinion to influence who I was voting for. Even though I know from a very young age in the Republican Party, because this happened in my family, they will indoctrinate and say those people are not Christians, and all this other stuff about pro-life stuff, and they only watch Fox News. So this is part of the problem. They're not actually watching factual news, but we'll get into that. So in the month of June, I chose 2 books, but they're very short reads. We're going to do Democrats 101. I've already read this book. Really good book, and it's short. About 135 pages. It goes over the history of the Democratic Party. That was good. And also On Tyranny by Timothy Snyder. I am about halfway through this, and I only started it last night. A little small thing. So it won't take you long, because I know a lot of us moms have kids back home from school. And so trying to keep it easy for our first book study. But some of the other ideas that I had as far as our book study, I just got this one last week, I think it was. Seen this on PBS, so I had to get it. How to Stand Up to a Dictator, The Fight for Our Future by Maria, I'm not going to say her last name, Reza. She was in the Philippines when Duterte, I think is how they said that, is CEO, co-founder, and president of Rappler, the Philippines' top digital-only news site, and has won numerous awards, including the Nobel Peace Prize. She grew up in America and studied at Princeton University before working as a journalist in Asia for more than 37 years. She was in the Philippines as a journalist when Duterte was taking over. So that one's going to be important here and early on. This one, How to Stop Fascism by Paul Mason, How Fascism Works. Those are two that I want to go on eventually. I think those are going to be the first things that we need to learn about. But as a person of faith, not quite understanding what happened in 2020 when everything went crazy and people were so hateful, learning now more how all of this works. It's actually Christian nationalists who are taking over our government, not actual Christians. And so I'm in the middle of this book, but it's good so far. This is The Psychology of Christian Nationalism by Pamela Cooper White. So that one we'll be exploring. And then I already finished this one. It's good, How to End Christian Nationalism by Amanda Tyler. And I also have a website where I'm going to try and have resources to expand on these topics and extra resources. Because I am extremely privileged and I never had to be an activist before. I never voted because I thought, oh, this isn't important. And so, I'm realizing now that it's very important to get involved in civics and learning all of the things. Because, I have kids now and I sure don't want my kids' future to be completely ruined. So I sure hope Donald Trump doesn't turn into a dictator. But going on along with the faith aspect, I got this book from somebody I'd seen on Instagram. I'm sure it will be very good. Deconstructing Leaving Church, Finding Faith by Carla Kamstra. Reverend Carla is what she goes by online. Because I really did have a crisis of faith in 2020. I didn't know why so many people were so hateful and not wanting to learn. It was a wild time. They were so convinced COVID was fake while I was watching people die and would not be convinced otherwise. So, anyways, on to feminism. I've wanted to read this book for a while, but I hadn't gotten it. But now that we're doing our book study, I went ahead and bought it. Learning to Listen, Reclaiming Our Voice, Women Rising by Megan Shantz, I believe is how you say that. So I want to explore the topic of feminism. This one I seen on Thrift Books. I'm like, yeah, I've got to get this. I need to understand more about what's going on in the far right's brain, or why are they not wanting to understand science? I'm a nurse. I actually went back and got my master's for nursing education. So The Republican War on Science by Chris Mooney. So we need to understand that more. I might throw this one in there because I'm finding that this is going to be a problem in our future. Anti-Intellectualism by Richard Hofstadter. I'm trying to teach my kids, hey, not everything that you see on YouTube is real. You need to fact check it. So many of us have been just sitting there watching our phones and whatnot and not using our brains. I have always loved to read, and I've noticed that a lot of people on the Democratic Party have so many books because I think we're a lot of the same. We continue to like to read and understand and learn. And I'm not so sure how much of that is actually happening over on the Republican side or willfully ignorant. I don't know. But this is going to be a learning space. So maybe we'll have some Republicans join us after Donald Trump ruins everything. I don't know. We'll see. This I seen online and I thought it might be helpful for us to learn because our states, I'm in Kansas, is gerrymandered a lot, and a lot of the rural votes are coming from rural Republicans are pretty much taking our state. And so Harvest the Vote, How Democrats Can Win Again in Rural America by Jane Klebe, chair of the Nebraska Democratic Party. So I thought that would be interesting to read. And also as somebody who has never done any organizing or any activism work, because I am, what's the word I wasn't thinking of? Privileged. I see now that it has been a privilege to not have to think of that because there are very many people in the marginalized communities that have had to continuously worry about their rights getting taken away by white people, I'm sure. Yeah. So, white people, we have a lot to learn. We do. Faith-rooted organizing, mobilizing the church in service to the world. I seen that online. I thought that would be interesting to read. I'm very disgusted by the Bible being weaponized because in 2020, I was so distraught and had a crisis of faith and was just reading the Bible, and it says to love our neighbor. That is literally all it says. I'm so confused what is happening. So I want to come from it from a faith perspective because I know exactly what they say over on the right. Anyone over on the left is not Christian. Wrong. You're a Christian nationalist over there, so we need to learn more about it. But I had no idea Fox was propaganda, and literally everything they say on there is a lie. Literally everything. And they're doing the exact opposite of what they're saying on Fox. Wild. I had no idea I grew up in that. So, this book, Network Propaganda, Manipulation, Disinformation, and Radicalization in American Politics. I want to go over that one. There's also some more that I have coming in. Brainwashing of my dad. I think there was another one about Fox News that I had coming. Also, I have various racism books. I don't know exactly how you would, maybe about white supremacy. I don't know which category that would fit in. White fragility, some others along that line. What else am I forgetting? Oh, I've got a good list of LGBTQ books. I have a list of global warming books. There's probably some other systems I'm forgetting. So leave any comments down below of what systems you think we should be studying here in our new book study. Also, parenting. Parenting goes along with this as well, and I had no idea. So a lot of people who are over on the right are parented in a way of an authoritarian parent. They're spanked. Manipulation tools are used. And so when I had my first kid, I did the same. That's how I grew up. But I was like, this doesn't feel right. I don't want to spank. So really, I feel like my story all started when I had my kids because I have been retraining my brain to not spank, to not yell. In a journey, it is a journey. So I have a whole bunch of books on parenting in this new way of parenting. So we're going to explore that more. And there was a gal I met online about how play is very helpful for our brains. We probably need to learn about critical thinking more. Our kids are going to need to learn how to critical think, especially with this AI coming on board. And also how electronics are affecting our youth. I do have a book, bunch of piles over here, regarding it's called the anxious generation. So that's something else we can explore. So certainly we have a lot of books to get to read. This is not going to happen all in this year. My hope is, because YouTube is always there, that it can be a revolving cycle or revolving place where this information is going to be available. And I'll have little different buckets where each of these books fit into. So when the time comes that somebody over on the Republican side realizes that they're in a cult and they're looking for more information, we have information available for them. I don't know how many will come from over there, because there are some that are very, very tied to the pro-life cult, but we do know that democratic policies help people from being poor, and poor is when people want abortions. That's another topic that we need to explore too, is abortions. That will go along with our healthcare system. There's so many things to explore, so I'm excited for this new journey. I hope you will subscribe and join our book study. Go to my website and you can sign up for my newsletter so you can be informed. If you have any opinions on what books we should study, go ahead and leave a comment, or you can even email me. But I'm excited for this new journey, and I will see you in the next video.